Rhythm and blues, reggae, rye, and rock and roll, Europe and other Western regions got world music long before the term was invented. Even the Beatles were much more than a British brand, borrowing from Asia and sometimes West Africa. How it blended into popular culture today is a central theme of a new exhibit that examines 3 decades of post-war migration to Paris and London through music. France and Britain needed extra manpower to fuel their fast-growing economies. They got it from former colonies that had just achieved independence. For the immigrants, it was a tough beginning. In Paris, workers from North and Sub-Saharan Africa lived in hostels known as foyers.
They were working in factory during the day, and so sharing the life of everybody working in the factory. But at the end of the day, they vanished in their foyer.
The immigrants were initially sidelined from France's mainstream musical scene as well. Things changed in the 1970s.
The music became something very strong to protest, to exist in the public space as an instrument of revolt and protest.
Across the Channel, migrants in London also faced racism, but they were introducing the city to ska and reggae from Jamaica, music from East Africa, and calypso from Trinidad and Tobago.
They could become profoundly London, and in a sense I think that's a measure of how much this migration has transformed London by the end of the 1980s.
The parents of British musician and filmmaker Don Letts emigrated to Britain from Jamaica as part of the so-called Windrush generation. He says they wanted to integrate by denying their roots. It didn't work.
Ironically, at a grassroots level, it was their culture, particularly their music, that would capture the imagination of the white working class kids. And it was our culture that would actually help us to integrate with society.
Letts says the cultural exchange went both ways.
I grew up digging the Stones, the Beatles, Bowie, Roxy music and all the rest of it.
Meanwhile, Paris by the 1980s had become a hub for African music. Singers like Papa Wemba, Khaled, Youssou N'Dour and Salif Keita.
Out of pleasure, I was discovering all these new musics. And I thought it was a gold mine because it was fascinating. It was all these incredible bands.
The musical fusion has left a powerful imprint on today's artists, and it has changed not only how we think about music, but about each other. Lisa Bryant for VOA News, Paris.